Hi everyone. My name is Alex. My gamer tag and PSN ID are Woggerman. I have some thoughts to share about recent media and backlash that Microsoft has gotten since E3, as well as kind of a different perspective on things that are happening right now in the video game industry. I think I have a unique perspective. Let me start off by giving you a little history of myself. Straight out of college, I got a part-time job at electronics boutique way back when Babbage's and Software Etc. and Funkoland were all around, and I worked my way up through the company and actually became a buyer. Roughly 8 years later, surprisingly, and very fortunately, I was the Xbox buyer, and yeah, it was a great experience, and I've been a lifelong video game fan. Most recently, I've been a real strong supporter of Xbox, but at the same time, I also have all the other systems: the PlayStation 4, the Wii U, 3DS, and I was a day one buyer for the Xbox One as well. I feel that there's a lot happening right now in the video game industry, and I think the console wars have gotten absolutely ridiculous. You know, I see two companies that are competing with each other, Microsoft and Sony. They started off this cycle pretty even in terms of what the boxes can do. I mean, minus Kinect, we all know what's happening with that right now. I wish it weren't. I actually like the Kinect and use it quite a bit in my daily television watching cycle, but you know, that's beyond. But in terms of the boxes themselves, they were pretty close to really the previous cycle, and that was actually disconcerting because every cycle we've seen come, every generation has always had some innovation to it, and while Microsoft tried to do it, Sony came back and said no, and you know how people sometimes gravitate toward safe things. They really gravitated toward the PS4 and kind of made the Xbox vision, which some argue was a really bad vision. I didn't like certain aspects of it, but I understand where it was going. And three years later, I think we're starting to actually see some of the stuff that Microsoft actually wanted to happen are starting to happen. Digital game sales are way up. The always on. I mean, most of the games are requiring internet now. All the big games anyway. And yeah, in fact, PlayStation View is gaining quite a bit of acceptance, and that's a wholly TV function for the PlayStation as well as other devices. So, whereas they always said Xbox was TV, Sony has actually gone to TV and VR. They've realized that the PlayStation is their mainstay, and that's how they're going to stay profitable. So good on them. I actually love the PlayStation exclusives, so I hope they continue to actually do more of that. Coming out of E3, it's clear that both Microsoft and Sony have quite a different strategy going forward. The key obviously is that they want the consumers, the purchasers of their system, to buy into their ecosystems. Okay, they're going to do it in two completely different ways. Sony, I think, has a very interesting thing. They're going to go the route that Microsoft went last time and add devices to their console to get people to be more committed to their strategy. So with the PlayStation VR and such, it's interesting. They've gone with the Neo. We don't have all the specifics yet, so that's all up in the air. But I mean, realistically, they saw a need to upgrade their system mid-cycle. It's actually a very smart move. I equate it to the hardware, the video card market, in the graphics card market in the PC. I mean, you have a launch of a new chipset, which would be a high-end launch. And then a couple of years or a year or two after that, you'll start seeing the same chipset cooler and smaller and at a much lower price. That's to extend the market, because once you've saturated that market with the initial chipset, you go and you try to gain more market share by expanding it to other people. The video game industry is very similar in that they launch a system, the Xbox One, the PS4, and once you've hit that saturation point, and let's be realistic, I think 40 million in the case of PlayStation is pretty saturated at the price point. That you lower the price point and get more people in, yes, but you've got to keep those people interested in the ecosystem, and to do that after 4 years now, we are all ADD. It's time to move on. Let's find something new. They don't want anybody to think, hey, we should try Microsoft or we should try Nintendo. So let's release a new system that still is backwards compatible with the PS4, and the PS4 doesn't get left behind. As we know, PC does that quite well. You can have a game that supports several different graphics chipsets, from low settings to mid settings to high to ultra high. It's the same game they program. They just program it with different features on and off. And why can't they do that in a PC, in a video game console? And that's a smart move. As we know, Microsoft has a different way of doing that, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But it's quite a move now, especially with the PlayStation VR coming out this year. $399 and $499 for the PlayStation VR. It's a good price compared to, obviously, the Oculus and Vive. It's not quite as good. I mean, I've played all three of them, and myself, I've seen quite a bit of jagged edges and problems with some of the frame rates, and I've got quite nauseous with the PSVR, while I haven't gotten quite as bad with the Vive or the Oculus. And I think Sony's seen that too, and realizes that not only will the Neo help the PSVR in terms of processing power and will allow for better graphics, better frame rates, the whole key is, let's sell people into the PSVR and the PS4 ecosystem, and then show them how much better it can be with the Neo. And that's great. It's a very smart decision. The only thing that I have right now that's worrisome is that the price points right now, the $399 and $499 for the VR, as well as probably at least $399, probably $499 for the Neo. You're looking at almost up to $1,000 investment from a person to get both of those items, in addition to, of course, the previous purchase of the PlayStation 4. Now, we all know that the people that were day one buyers will most likely go to the PS4 Neo. And I know Sony is probably saying, no, we don't, this is not necessarily for all of them, but let's be real, the day one buyers have always gone to newer hardware the quickest. So I think that's going to happen, and I think people are going to look at the Neo as a first option for people who haven't purchased any of this generation yet. All right. So Sony's strategy is to get those 40 million people right now to lock into their ecosystem by purchasing the VR and the Neo, as well as try to push people who have been holding out to a Neo, and then eventually a PSVR. So that's their strategy, and it makes sense, and I think Sony is going to be very successful with it. Now, Xbox is where I really want to spend some time, because there's so much confusion out of E3, which really isn't warranted. The media, obviously, some of them, many of them, have really tried to play up the confusion factor of why did Microsoft show at the beginning of the conference the S and then the Project Scorpio at the end? Well, there's so many reasons why I could see how some of the media is confused, but realistically, I think they're just trying to create a narrative that they think the lowest common denominator will agree with them, and that's not the case. You know, I'm 42 years old. I've been involved in the video game industry for about 15 years. I've been playing video games since my Sears Pong machine, okay? I think a lot of the people that are investing in these top-tier markets, these top-tier devices, many of them are, you know, in their 30s and 40s and late 20s. They've been around. They're not stupid. So I think, again, it's a false narrative. So let's go into the strategy. So Microsoft says, here is, at the beginning of their E3 press conference, here's the Xbox One S. $299, HDR, high-def 4K Blu-ray streaming device, better controller, $299 starting price, up to $399 for the 2 terabyte. Wow, fantastic! You basically made a Trojan horse for the industry. The HD Blu-ray, the 4K Blu-ray drive in there, at that price, at $299 starting, is amazing. It's $100 less than any of their competitors' Blu-ray devices, just single, without any of the extra functionality of the Xbox One. So you're $299, you have the Xbox One functionality, you can play Halo, Gears, Forza, Tomb Raider, everything you want. Call of Duty, Battlefield. Amazing. Amazing deal. You know, Sony tried this and succeeded both with the PS2, which included the DVD at a great price compared to the single players, and Sony did it with PS3 with the Blu-ray. So, you know, they basically copied Sony and said, this is our way in. You know, if they're smart, they get the Best Buys and everybody to include the Xbox One right next to the Xbox One X, right next to all their Blu-ray players, their 4K Blu-ray players. I mean, if a consumer comes in and says, hey, I'm looking for a 4K Blu-ray player, well, you can buy this one, the Samsung, for $499, the Sony for $399, or we have here the Microsoft Xbox One, which actually has the Blu-ray player, the 4K Blu-ray player, plus you can do 4K streaming and play all the games. At $299, it's a no-brainer. And that's one way they can really bump up their user base. So that's one way that they're going to actually try to get people into their ecosystem. So they showed off all their games in between after that, and made some announcements along with the design lab and everything. It was a great conference. It was all about games coming out this year and early next year, and you know, really smart. And then they launched into the Project Scorpio. Now, for me, that was something really interesting. I didn't quite expect them to talk so much about it. And people say, oh, they didn't really talk about it. They just made random, you know, numbers up and stuff like that. But we all know that's not true. I mean, the specs have been kind of leaking out, and we know what really it is. But, you know, the big narrative out of E3 was, why did they do both? Why did they announce the S and then completely destroy it by announcing the Scorpio? And that's the weird thing, because for me, I see two different consumers in mind. I see the everyday consumer going toward the S at the moment, and I see the day one buyers of Xbox One, as well as possibly some Sony buyers looking at Scorpio next year. Now, they're taking a different approach than the Neo. They are going full on next gen. And that is a great thing. I mean, they're already, you know, the specs are already just preliminarily are, you know, 4.5 times the power of the Xbox One. However, as we all know, that they said no one will be left behind. And again, they can do that, people. PC developers have been doing it for years. I said it before with the graphics card analogy. They can turn on and turn off different effects to make games playable on weaker devices, okay? That is not a problem. PC developers will not have a problem with that. So who is the Scorpio for? Well, again, day one buyers will probably go. I will. And people who want the strongest and most powerful system on the market, which will probably be that way for at least a couple of years. In addition to that, they're giving... we still don't know what their VR strategy is. Personally, I could see them saying Vive and Oculus support is possible. Why not allow them all? I think that's a really smart idea. I think they should do that. Give people more options. Essentially, you're going to be buying a PC, okay? In conjunction with that, the Play Anywhere initiative is actually very smart. Coming out of E3, I heard all of the podcasts all say, why do I need an Xbox One then? Why I can sell my Xbox One because everything's coming to PC. And I don't understand that philosophy. It seems to make no sense. I have times when I need to play on my computer or do something on my computer, on my PC desktop or laptop. And there are times when I'm off and I want to relax on my couch and play games on my TV. So why can't I do both? Why can't I be able to start a game on my PC and go to my Xbox if I want to play on my TV? People say, oh, you can put your computer on the TV. Oh, yeah, you can. Absolutely, you can. But there are times when I don't want it to be on the TV. Okay? So the idea that I'll be able to buy once, play on both, move saves around, or finish on one and start on the other, is very appealing to me. And taking those millions and millions of gamers on PC and the 20 million gamers on Xbox and letting them decide what they want to do and have opportunities to actually play on both makes a lot of sense. There'll be people that'll sell their Xboxes, they'll play on their PC. That's fine, whatever. Let them do that. I think it's really a small percentage. I will tell you that I still have friends in the industry as far as the retail industry go, and I can tell you that, they don't really... The PC gamers are vocal, but to be completely honest, they're not as concerned about them as they are about the console ecosystem. So, Steam and GOG and all those guys really control the PC market. Microsoft wants to get the Windows Store up to them, which I don't think is really feasible, but they can really do a good number of things if they get their AAA titles on there, and so far they're going to do that. So that's actually a smart idea. Anyway, I think there will be people who have PCs who will then say, I should get a Scorpio so I can put that on my TV. I should get an Xbox One Slim because I can play those games on my TV. Yes, they might not be as nice and pretty as the ones on my PC, but it's an option for me. And people like options. PC industry has always become about options, about upgrading your graphics card, your CPU, your hard drive, the RAM, everything to make the game faster. And it's just another option to put that on your TV. And that's smart. Again, build the ecosystem. You've got your Xbox One Slim for the mass market, and you've got the Scorpio for the hardcore console gamer market, and now you have the PC for the quote unquote the PC master race. All three of those people are going to be in the Microsoft system. Unlike Sony, which just basically has the PlayStation. Okay? The VR and the Neo are all extensions of that. So whereas Microsoft is trying to bring those people together, the PC and the Xbox One users, Sony just has the PS4. That's smart. And if you think that's not smart and very easy to understand, then you're going to be very surprised when the when the Xbox Project Scorpio launches. I think they're testing the waters with the Play Anywhere this fall. I think it will be a success because it gives gamers more options, and I can play Forza and Gears and Recore on both of my systems, and I can't wait to do that. So those are my thoughts about the ecosystems. Again, two different strategies. I think Microsoft actually comes out on top this time. But let's talk a little bit about how the media has kind of responded. We all know that clicks are what drive these websites. I don't want to say specifics. I mean, we all know who they are. I don't want to drive more people to them, but pretty much every podcast coming out of E3, every website generally had a what was Microsoft thinking kind of view. And it's funny because if you listen to analysts and you listen to financial people and you listen to mainstream people, I'm not talking these video game websites, mainstream, the USA Today's and everybody else, it was about games and it was about exciting new hardware. And with all due respect to Sony, which showed some fantastic exclusives, they showed games that in some cases are out very far into the future. Microsoft showed things that are going to be available this fall and early to mid next year. They showed hardware that's coming out now and hardware that's coming out in a year's time, a little more than a year's time. For retailers, Sony had the weaker show. For gamers, that Sony played off of their memories and wish lists again, like they did last year, and they feel they won. But again, in terms of business standpoint, Microsoft is playing this much, much smarter. And I got to give credit to Phil Spencer and Aaron Greenberg and everybody at Microsoft, Chris Charla and Rod Ferguson and just Craig Duncan, everybody. They've created quite a lineup, and I can't wait to play some of these games this fall. And Phil has really done a great job, kind of getting everything in line. He said he was going to get PC gaming back. He said he was going to get Xbox gaming back. People, if this initiative works, more games will be made by Microsoft first-party studios, as well as their second-party games. More people who have access to these games, PC and Xbox, means more sales. More sales means more investment. More investment means more games. It is a truth that nobody seems to want to make available to the mainstream enthusiast crowds. These media organizations just want to create conflict between Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. All three of these guys have completely different agendas. Nintendo's a family system. It always will be. Everybody's going to always want Mario, Zelda, Pikmin, now Splatoon, all these great games, Pokemon. They're always going to have a niche. Sony and Microsoft are vying for the same people. However, they're doing it in two different ways. Okay? So there's really no reason why there should be any confusion about what Microsoft did, what Sony did. These are two very healthy companies who are going to drive the video game business to reach record levels over the next few years. If any indication of how I can tell you that one certain retailer who has quite a few stores and malls, I can tell you that the Xbox One S has done remarkably well. Remarkably. And judging by the way Amazon is going, and I've heard some talk about Best Buy doing very well with it, it's clear that people are getting over that original Xbox One debacle that occurred at the beginning of the life cycle. So there it is. I think it's pretty simple. Microsoft is going after the PC market, the Xbox market, the enthusiast and hardcore gamer market, as well as the mainstream. They're trying to get their box into places where they haven't been before. The Xbox One S is a great way to do that and get them to buy into the ecosystem. They've already got Xbox Live. They're going to push it with the next generation system next year. All of it will be backwards compatible. And it's brilliant. Sony is going a different route. They've got the 40 million people already. It's probably a little bit more than that now. They're going to try to drive people to the VR experience through PSVR, which is a closed ecosystem, only available on their system. They're going to give an incremental upgrade next year, or this year, whatever it's going to be, this year, early next year, to not only give their consumers a better experience in terms of the games, they'll all be 1080p and 60 or whatever they're going to be, as well as help with VR and make that even better experience than it already is with their 40 million PS4 users. And then you got Nintendo who's going to go their own way and do their own thing, and we're all going to end up loving it as usual. I'm sure they're going to do something innovative with the NX, and I really hope they do, because I want to see Nintendo succeed. I don't want Mario and Zelda to die, and I know they won't, but I'd like to see them continue on their way. So it's very simple. The video game industry is healthy. That's the bottom line. People need to understand that. And the media needs to be more responsible when they report or create these narratives that are completely untrue. Let's get back to the time when we had Die Hard Game Fan and we would open up the pages and look at the games, and that would be our only preview of the game would be images, and we would look and be like, wow, that looks really great, and have some excitement for the games, regardless of what platform it's on. Enjoy the games. That's what's important. Guys, I didn't care if it was Atari, Odyssey 2, Apple IIc, Commodore 64, 2600, 7800. I didn't care if it was Nintendo, Genesis, Super Nintendo, Sega Dreamcast, Saturn, the original PlayStation. I don't care what it was on. I am a gamer. I've been a gamer since I was basically born, when the first Pong machine came out. This is what it's about. It's about having fun, enjoying your time in these worlds that are vividly created by the game creators, and not worry about what you're playing it on. I understand that people invest in a specific console and they want to feel like the one they chose was the right one. But in actuality, all of them are right. And they all have reasons to go to them. Okay? So let's get back to enjoying games. Not enjoying which system is beating which other system. Not enjoying this one has 1080p versus 900p. Not enjoying that Microsoft has announced a system that's far more powerful than Sony's next system. It doesn't matter. If it gives you enjoyment, enjoy it. And that's all that I have to say today. So I thank you again for listening. I may do more of these as things progress over the next few months. If you enjoy this, let me know. I'd really like to hear from some of you. And you know where to reach me. Again, my gamer tag is Woggerman. That's Woggerman. And my PSN ID is the same. So let me know what you think, and I wish all of you great gaming memories. Thank you.